Now at 5, we learn about a new mental health hotline being implemented soon and a local call center that'll help operate it. And
the House is moving forward with a plan to beef up security for Supreme Court justices and their families following a rise in threats. I'm Skyler Henry on Capitol Hill with the details of what got left out of the bill.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A new phone line will soon be available to anyone experiencing a mental health crisis. This is KOAM News at 5. 988 will be the national 3-digit phone number for all mental health, substance abuse, and suicide crises. All calls to this number will be routed to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline centers in each state. Freeman's Ozark Center will be one of 200 call centers nationwide and says this is an easier, more convenient way for people to receive help.
It's highway patrol, police departments, and they transfer and bring callers and individuals to our crisis center every day. But this is going to make it easier for the family or the individual at home to be able to just do it, or do it from their place of work, not have to make a phone call. They could do a text or a chat.
The Ozark Center will begin accepting 988 calls effective on July 16th. Missouri Governor Mike Parson has signed a bill concerning property rights. The legislation deals with the seizure of private land for public projects. The measure will require farm owners to be paid at least 150% of market value if their properties are taken through eminent domain. That law applies only to new projects. That means it won't affect plans for a large wind energy power line called the Grain Belt Express. Voters in Columbus, Kansas today are deciding whether to renew a half-cent sales tax that's been in place since 1997. It helps fund emergency services, water and sewer drainage, and other things. We're going to have results of the vote on KOAMNewsNow.com and on KOAM News at 10. Pittsburgh first responders host a mock accident demonstration for Leadership Academy students. The Academy has a partnership with the United States Army. Pittsburgh high school students discuss civic organizations and listen to community leaders. The fire department, police, sheriff, and ambulance departments play a key role in this program. The demonstration shows what the students have been learning in the classroom.
Our goal is to help these students become better citizens and get involved in their community. So we spend a lot of time in the classroom talking about those subjects, but we also spend a lot of time out in the community getting to know what each of those aspects are.
Leadership Academy is a 16-day summer program centered on government and civic leadership. The program allows students to learn through real-life applications. Nick Kelly joins us with a first look at the weather.
And once again, it's hot out there, Dal, but at the very least, we kept skies quiet once again throughout the day. Still looking good with mostly sunny skies, maybe just the faintest tint of haze along the northern horizon. We really cut back, thankfully, though, on the heat advisories. They're still in effect, though, until 8 o'clock this evening for St. Clair, Lynn, and Bates counties in our far northern and northeastern parts of the viewing area. But we've really cut back on those advisories because this upper level ridge, even though it's off to the east, it's still influencing our weather, but is trying to pull in some drier air and mixing it down. That's why we haven't felt so hot compared to the past few days. It's still hot according to the thermometer, though. We're in the lower 90s, only feels like the mid to upper 90s, still a bit humid, but better than where we've been for the past few afternoons. And I do think as we get past sunset, we'll fall through the 90s, 80s, down to the upper 70s later on tonight. I do have rain chances in the forecast now. We'll break it down here in a few.
See you then. It's been more than a month since the U.S. Senate unanimously passed a Supreme Court security bill. Today, the House has also passed that bill overwhelmingly after Senate Republicans swatted down Democrats' attempts to make changes. It comes as Supreme Court police say they've seen an uptick in violent threats as the 9 justices prepare to issue a major ruling on abortion rights, also on the Second Amendment. Reporter Skyler Henry has more from Capitol Hill.
The bill is passed. The House has approved a Senate bill designed to boost security for U.S. Supreme Court justices and their immediate families.
It is imperative that the justices are free from fear of violence or physical intimidation to make decisions based on the Constitution and law as applied to the facts of the cases before them.
The Senate passed this bill a month ago. Why did it take so long?
The bill allows Supreme Court police to provide around-the-clock protection to justices and their families if it's deemed necessary. House Democrats had sought to add protections for Supreme Court employees and their families, but backed down when Senate Republicans said it wouldn't pass the upper chamber.
It was House Democrats that at least wanted to get one itty-bitty concession out of this bill.
I'm glad it will be heading to the president's desk without any poison pills to ping it back to the Senate to delay it further.
Senate Republicans introduced the bill following a leaked draft opinion on a Mississippi abortion case that suggested the court may be poised to overturn Roe v. Wade. That leak sparked protests targeting the homes of several justices. Calls to pass the bill intensified last week after a man called police to say he was near Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home with thoughts of killing him. An affidavit states the 26-year-old California man had a gun and a knife. He's been charged with attempted murder.
Threats of violence and actual violence against the justices, of course, strike at the heart of our democracy.
Federal and local law enforcement agencies have been on high alert, but the Supreme Court expected to issue its final ruling on the Mississippi case in the coming days. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Today on the House floor, Democrats said they're hopeful an additional bill can eventually be taken up to extend security protections to Supreme Court employees and their families. Still ahead, understanding a bear market.
All eyes are on the stock market after a big sell-off on Monday. I'm Michael George on Wall Street with how it could impact your pocketbook.
And next in Healthwatch, details on a study looking at the side effects of an antiviral drug used to treat COVID-19. Topping today's Healthwatch, a new study finds a commonly used drug to treat parasite infections might not be helpful for those with COVID-19. The study from Duke and Vanderbilt universities tested the efficacy of ivermectin for patients with mild or moderate COVID-19 symptoms. Researchers found there were no differences in relief between those taking the drug and patients who got the placebo. There was also no difference in the number of hospitalizations or visits to the ER. We've been hearing reports of people dealing with rebound COVID-19 symptoms after taking the antiviral drug called Paxlovid. Well, now a new study looks at how common the effect is. Dr. Malika Marshall reports from Boston.
Paxlovid is an antiviral pill prescribed to people at high risk for severe COVID disease. Studies show it can reduce the chances of needing to be hospitalized, but some patients have reported a rebound of COVID-19 symptoms after taking the drug. Mayo Clinic researchers looked at 483 high-risk patients treated for COVID-19 with a 5-day course of Paxlovid. Only a handful of patients developed rebound symptoms. All patients recovered, including those who had rebound symptoms, and those were typically mild. Most patients were vaccinated, many boosted. As for why some have a rebound in symptoms, researchers explain that one possibility is a replication of the virus that causes COVID-19 may trigger a secondary immune response that appears as mild symptoms. Patients also had other serious health problems, which they say can complicate recovery. More research is needed to figure out why some patients experience the rebound. Right now, scientists are looking at whether longer treatment may help. I'm Dr. Malika Marshall, CBS News, Boston.
Just like other antiviral medications, Paxlovid needs to be taken early in the illness, so within 5 days of developing symptoms. The FDA has approved its first treatment for alopecia. Officials say Olumiant blocks an enzyme that leads to inflammation caused by severe alopecia areata. This inflammation can trigger the body to attack its own hair follicles, causing the hair to fall out in clumps. The FDA says about 300,000 people in the U.S. suffer from this autoimmune disorder. In 2 trials, people who received the treatment maintained more of their hair. And children who learn to play well with others in preschool may have better mental health as they get older. British researchers analyzed data from nearly 1,700 children ages 3 to 7 years old. They found those who were better at playing with others had lower hyperactivity, fewer conduct and emotional problems, and were less likely to get into fights with other children. Children who play at trampoline centers are more likely to be seriously injured and require hospitalization than those who use trampolines at home. A new study published in the journal Injury Prevention found leg injuries, sprains, and the need for surgery were more common at the trampoline parks. Researchers believe this might be due to structural differences in the types of trampolines. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, why some Whole Foods customers are suing retail giant Amazon.
Plus, hot and humid once again. We'll see if it can stick around for the rest of the week when we come back. Well, no doubt about it, we stayed hot once again. We got at least a little bit of a break from the humidity today, but some returning humidity over the next few days might cause some rain chances to sneak back in here. For the time being, no rain to speak of anywhere, certainly from our live shot of indigo sky just outside of Seneca, Missouri. I will say, though, that good south breeze kind of kept temperatures at bay throughout the course of the day. Usually when we're talking about a south wind, usually pumps in more warm, if not hot air. But compared to the mid-90s we saw the other day, we again dropped back near 80 this morning. This time around, though, only lower 90s for this afternoon. We'll certainly take that, along with the drop in the humidity, at least a little drop in that humidity. That's why we haven't had a lot of heat advisories to speak of throughout this afternoon, although there is still technically one out for St. Clair, Lynn, and Bates counties and our far northern and northeastern counties until we hit about 8 o'clock this evening. But it looks nice, sure, and it's nice to see dew points at least below 70 this time around, but still 90 degrees, you factor in that dew point, at least it feels like the mid-90s, but that south wind is 17, occasionally gusting to 29 at times. Everybody's right around the 90-degree mark right now, and again, we have seen that drop in the humidity, at least in dew point form, mid-60s to about 70, slightly less humid air, but still just enough to make it feel like the mid-90s across much of the area. With the way things are going through the overnight, we'll keep things quiet before clouds build in overnight, and that will eventually let temperatures drop back into the upper 70s. Not a lot to show right now. This view has been pretty quiet throughout much of the past few days, quite frankly, but at the surface, I'm watching our next cold front that's going to try to edge close to us over the next few days, certainly as a couple upper level lows wants to push that front our way. Ultimately, though, we're going to get used to seeing this high pressure sticking around a lot longer. For those of you that don't like the heat and humidity, sticking around a lot longer than we want it to. But let's see where we go from here. We are looking mostly clear to start the evening out. Then we'll see the cloud cover. I think it's overdone a bit here, but at least partly cloudy skies to start your Wednesday morning out. At least before the clouds build in, we'll drop back into the upper 70s. Partly sunny skies throughout the day. I do expect temperatures to be kept at bay. 77 in the morning, 87 by noon. That south wind at 10 to 20 is going to mix up the sun's rays, so we're not going to heat up as much if we had a lighter breeze, but still, let's plan on highs around 91. Then as we go into Wednesday night, here's 9 o'clock. You can see thunderstorms lining up from along the Kansas Turnpike. That is the cold front. It's going to be edging close enough that I can't rule out some slight thunderstorm chances for the northern parts of the area tomorrow night and Thursday morning. Then I think we're dry for the rest of Thursday with temperatures again back at least into lower 90s. At least the humidity is keeping in check, but I still feel like the mid 90s to 100 tomorrow. And as we go into Thursday, I think a little more humidity will build back in. It could feel like 100 to 105 as we go into Thursday afternoon as that upper ridge takes control once again. Beyond the next few days, let's go 94 on Friday, maybe a rogue storms late Saturday afternoon, and maybe a couple slight storm chances on Tuesday, Dow. But that upper level ridge you saw is going to allow lows to drop back into the lower 70s, but it's going to keep us hot with plenty of mid 90s on the board.
Yeah, and it's going to feel even hotter than it is. Wow. Thanks, Dave. Hey, if your signal of KOAM or Fox 14 gets kind of glitchy this week, well, that is a sign of progress. We're going to be broadcasting from a lower temporary antenna while a crew installs a new, more technically advanced antenna at the top of our tower. It's the first step in our More Power project. It's going to allow some viewers who previously lost our signal to get us again. If all goes according to plan, we're going to be back up and stronger than ever by the end of June. Coming up, how the current state of the stock market could impact your wallet. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Dustin McMinn served in the U.S. Army from 2006 to 2013. The Scammon, Kansas native was stationed in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we salute Sergeant Dustin McMinn, a four-state hero. You can learn about lots of other heroes. We have more than 3,000 of them in our database. They're from all across this area. You can also submit a hero of your own anytime. Just go to our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Topping today's Consumer Watch, stocks made modest gains after all three major indexes tanked yesterday. The S&P 500 began the day in bear market territory, down more than 20% from its peak. All eyes are now on the Federal Reserve, which could respond to inflation with its biggest interest rate hike in more than 2 decades. Michael George reports from Wall Street.
Stocks finished mixed, following a Monday free fall that sent the S&P 500 into bear market territory.
It's significant. They don't happen that often, but about a dozen times since World War II.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger says soaring inflation and the likelihood of more interest rate hikes continue to rattle investors.
I'm down big. It's amazing. Where I was 2 years ago, it's incomparable to where I am today.
With the national average for a gallon of gas now topping $5, many Americans are taking a hard look at their retirement portfolios and their budgets.
As a family, we will be focused on our spending and our saving, hunkering down.
Investors and businesses are bracing for Wednesday's decision from the Federal Reserve on interest rates to fight soaring inflation.
The Federal Reserve has to thread this needle. By raising interest rates, what's happening is they could actually tip us into a recession if they go too far, too fast.
Speaking at an organized labor convention, President Biden put the blame on Republicans in Congress.
The problem is, Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop my plans to bring down costs on ordinary families. That's why my plan is not finished.
It's unclear how long the bear market will last, so analysts recommend investors pay down debt and keep their money in the market in anticipation of a rebound. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Here's a look at how stocks ended today. The S&P 500 fell 14 points. The Dow Jones lost 151 points. The Nasdaq rose 19 points. As gas prices reach record highs, Americans are struggling to fill up their tanks. According to AAA, more drivers are running on fumes, and some are even running out of gas, prompting more emergency calls to the auto service. In fact, there's been a 25% increase in empty tank calls. Running on E can also have other consequences. In most cars, the fuel pump is inside the gas tank and needs to be submerged in gasoline to be cooled. Sales of luxury homes just saw a huge decline, 17.8% between February and April. A Redfin analysis shows it's the biggest drop since the start of the pandemic, with the usual suspects to blame: rising interest rates, soaring inflation, a shaky stock market, and uncertain economic outlook. But it's good news for some buyers because it signals the market might be becoming more balanced and competition is easing up. Some Whole Foods customers are suing Amazon, accusing the company of violating their Prime membership deal by charging nearly $10 for delivery that was supposed to be included. Amazon Prime ended the free Whole Foods delivery in October, citing its higher expenses. Also, in March, Amazon increased its yearly Prime membership fee from $119 to $139. The lawsuits accuse Amazon of violating consumer protection laws. A final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, a look back at the history of the U.S. Army as it celebrates 247 years of service. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on the mental health hotline that Joplin's Ozark Center will operate. Plus, Crawford County authorities report a string of thefts involving political signs in Pittsburgh. And to look at how some Oklahoma businesses are dealing with the rapid rise of gas prices. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. A pair of chefs made the world's largest chicken nugget. The TikTok cooking sensation Lynn Davis and MasterChef finalist Nick DiGiovanni got together to make the largest chicken nugget in the world. The nugget's nearly 115 times larger than traditional ones and weighs about 46 pounds, 3 ounces, give or take. The pair used 40 pounds of ground chicken, 40 slices of white bread, and 40 eggs.
I'm just wondering how much ketchup you need to eat that.
Not enough. Yeah. It would be from that looks completely unappetizing to me, but it's a record.
It is.
The weather.
Thankfully, no records in danger of being broken in terms of highs, but staying hot. 91 tomorrow, maybe slight storm chances tomorrow night into Thursday morning.
See you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.